Alright, welcome in. I'm the Kodiak, and before I begin this video, I just want to say I saw this guy in the flesh tonight. I work at a restaurant in Vegas on the Strip, and he and Eli came in for Super Bowl week, and he is listed as 6'4" on the Packers website, but I swear he is at least 6'7". But anyway, I made a video 3 months ago on this very channel saying that I still thought Jordan Love could be special, but that the start of his career had been relatively underwhelming. And I don't remember if that was after the Denver game this year. I don't remember if it was after the first Minnesota game. But the latter part where I say this, where I said that his career had been relatively underwhelming is no longer true. Not even a little bit. Because no way the Packers could have a third consecutive elite quarterback. Absolutely impossible. Most teams can't find one great one, let alone go from another to another to another. And it's still crazy to me that we're at this point. A move on draft night in 2020 that absolutely stunned Packers fans and the NFL world and left a lot of the ones I knew in person and that I'm close to very mad. And I've never liked the Packers, in particular due to Rodgers being one of the most unlikable athletes on the planet, but I'm a huge fan of them now. I'm a huge fan of Jordan Love, and I respect everything that has been done for Jordan Love and what this organization has been able to give him. It wasn't always easy. Taking him in 2020 was a huge risk. And I think this was mainly done because Green Bay was always picking late and the 2020 draft was loaded with talent at every position. And so loaded that Love was probably, at least in Green Bay's eyes, the best quarterback prospect that had ever, A, slid to them, B, they'd be in a position to draft. And he had a rocky start to his career, undoubtedly. But they stayed patient with him. And I shouldn't say that he had a rocky start to his career, more that he had a rocky start this year. And it paid off in a huge way that they stayed patient with him. And when I look at what we can learn from this, because this channel is mainly supposed to be, sports philosophy in general, it's not to stay patient with quarterbacks who clearly aren't performing. Because what good does it do to stay patient with a quarterback like Desmond Ridder, Malik Willis, Zach Wilson for an NFL team? Those guys have no value to their NFL rosters, but they can't just get cut for one reason or another. But what we can learn from this is that Green Bay always had a plan for Love. So every team that needs a quarterback going forward should always have a plan for their quarterbacks. Every team should always try to surround their quarterbacks with talent. And you'd be shocked. Sounds like a simple concept, but based on a lot of the stuff I see in the NFL, I'm just like, man, I feel like some fans can run teams better than actual executives and GMs at times. But regardless, even when Jordan Love was underwhelming as a starter, they always had a developmental plan for him. So he went on a tear to end the year. He had some pretty good games, but against the Chargers in Week 12, after the Packers had lost to the Steelers in Week 11, it looked like a switch flipped when Jordan Love lit up a Brandon Staley defense. Then in Detroit, 4 days later, on Thanksgiving, another switch flipped, and Green Bay absolutely humiliated the Lions on Thanksgiving on their own field. And Love put together 3 solid games in a row, and it let us know that there was no longer a question as to if he was Green Bay's franchise quarterback, or aka their quarterback of the future. He put up banger after banger of performances and was a large part of Green Bay's playoff push down the stretch after the playoffs looked well out of reach, not only starting off rocky, but losing to the Giants and Bucks late in the year, as well as going into Dallas and completely demolishing the Cowboys in the wild card round. I would have never seen that in Green Bay's range of outcomes this year. And they were this close to going into San Francisco and knocking off the team that eventually won the NFC. From Game 10 against the Chargers through the wild card win at Dallas, he threw 21 touchdown passes and 1 pick. And over those 9 games, Love had 8 games with a 100-plus passer rating. So how did they do it? Well, for starters, they never ever panicked when it came to Love's development. This started when they drafted him. They did not care that it was a reach at the time, or at least deemed as one. The Packers, after 2019, looked like a team that was ready to win a Super Bowl the next year. Then Rodgers goes on to play at an MVP level, and sure, they could have had an Ayuk, a Higgins, a Pittman, who all would have been insane, especially with 2 versions of MVP Rodgers that they got afterwards. But Jordan Love is one of the greatest assets in the NFL now. The ability to have a quarterback of the future is ridiculously invaluable and amazing. more so than any of those guys could be, even if they were still elite for Green Bay. And they stayed patient with him for multiple years. Sure, he started a game, maybe two, when Rodgers was still with Green Bay and not following immunization protocol. But Love, rarely was he ever thrust into real game situations over the first 3 years of his career. Second, this team completely overhauled their offensive skill guys over the past 2 years. Yeah, I think Jordan Love's development does not go as well if he is throwing to guys like Allen Lazard and Randall Cobb. Luckily, they took that trash and shipped it off to New York with Aaron Rodgers. You knew this team seemed doomed to fail on offense when A.J. Dillon has been a big part of it over the past few years. Well, they overhauled their entire offensive skill position guys, and their run game does need work because Jones is getting older, but they have the youngest unit in the league, offensive unit that is, drafting the likes of Christian Watson, Jaden Reed, Romeo Doubs, Tucker Kraft, Dontavian Wicks, Luke Musgrave. The Packers are loaded with pass catchers for the future, and it's going to be a lot easier for Jordan Love to make mistakes, especially when you have good skill position guys like the Packers do. Not only good skill position guys, but some of the youngest in the league, and they're already showing out. And Matt LaFleur and Gutekunst already know what they're looking at in offensive skill guys. They clearly are a net positive in, going after wide receivers and tight ends. And it's all the more impressive that Green Bay always goes defense with their first round picks. And this time, Joe Barry is not going to be calling the signals. So it's going to be really scary playing against the Packers over the next few years. Lastly, Tom Clemens is the unpraised hero of this franchise. One of the best quarterback coaches in the league, who coached up Favre, Rodgers, and now Jordan Love. He is one of the architects of Green Bay's quarterback succession plan and why it has worked as well as it has. And he said that Jordan Love's footwork is something they've really worked on, and they really brought it into what they were trying to accomplish, and he improved greatly over the past few years. And every time I had a nickel that a raw, wildly athletic quarterback from the Mountain West developed well in this generation, I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it happened twice. And Aaron Rodgers himself said that he wouldn't be as good as he was in his career without Tom Clemens. So if you aren't plugged in with the Packers, highly recommend you listen to a few of this guy's press conferences or read some articles about him. But I'm really excited for what Jordan Love has turned into and what he will become. I'm a huge fan. I'm a believer. I've taken in 6 out of my 8 dynasty startups. I've taken Jordan Love that I've joined since January. And I made eye contact with him tonight. So told him have a good night as he was leaving my restaurant. And I'm still beaming. And Packers fans, you should be beaming as well because you not only got a great person, but you got a great quarterback. Also, highly recommend you check out his interviews from Super Bowl week. They're all great. But anyway, that does it for me, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.